I think I'm saying that we struggle all our lives to answer it. That it's the struggle that is important. That's what helps us to define our place in the universe.
This is Beverly, Dr. Beverly, Dr. Beverly Crusher.
Look where we are. Here, all of us, in this moment. So let's do what we spent our entire lives learning to be great at.
And this is Crusher Convo. And welcome to Crusher Convo, where we're crushing the conversation one episode at a time. I am here to give you my review of this series premiere of Starfleet Academy, Kids These Days. Now, of course, if you have not watched this episode, turn back now because there will be spoilers.
Spoilers.
There obviously has been mixed reviews prior to the premiere. A lot of people were excited about it. And then, of course, we had, as what Larry called them, the toxic tubers who were already putting it down due to the fact that they don't believe it was Star Trek, okay? However, I'm giving you my honest opinion. Could be different from yours, but the one thing I would like to say, guys, is that if you have not seen this episode, you really have no opinion, okay? I'm a full believer of everyone has a right to their own opinion. But at least watch the episode before you say anything. Not this. It's not Trek. It's too woke. It's the Kurtzman era. I don't care, okay? Every show is different. Every show has its audience. And that is what we're here to celebrate. I am going to tell you what I loved. Maybe a couple of nitpicks here and there. But it is a Star Trek series. And I'm basically going to tell you what I enjoyed.
You said you'd help me.
I have. It's not prison. You'll have visitation rights. That's as far as I could get them. A Federation officer died, Ms. Meal.
Oh, man, unbelievable. What's gonna happen to my son?
He'll become a ward of the Federation.
Oh, God. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Now, obviously, the very beginning of this, it's just getting us right to the story. I have not seen Discovery, so I have no idea what's been going on. I don't know what the burn is. I don't know what the situation was once they get to the 32nd century. Clearly, the burn had something to do with their warp drive, the dilithium crystals, and they were not able to travel like they used to. So I understood that portion, that this is now post-burn and they're trying to rebuild. This clearly is showing Caleb as a little boy, and it's explaining to how he grew up and how many grew up in that 120 years. And it was a very sad situation, just like we see today, you know, mothers doing whatever they can to feed their child. And unfortunately, she got caught up in this pirate's scheme, which was New Spraka, of, well, as long as they got their food, it doesn't matter what happens. And clearly they paid the price for it. So as much as people were saying the Federation would never separate a child from their parent, honestly, this is 900 years in the future. This is very different from what we had with Kirk and Picard and Janeway and all of that stuff. And this is them showing them trying to rebuild. And so unfortunately, they did take away the child away from its mother. And this mother no longer trusted the Federation. She even said in that clip, "You said you were going to help me." And as much as Nala was like, well, you're not going to prison, it wasn't the best scenario for her. And so this little boy had no reason to trust the Federation. And he even tricked Nala by, saying, hugging her and all that stuff. And what I liked is that when you see him like unhug her, right, you can kind of hear a little chirp, meaning he took her comm badge at that very moment. But I was kind of like, kid, why are you trusting him? And I was like, unless he's smart. He was smart and he took off. Unfortunately, he could have seen his mom in that 15 years because I think Nala would have done anything she could have in order to see her son. She was saying, you're going to have visitation rights. And because the boy took off, he didn't get that chance. And it looked like the mom was in that rehabilitation center for quite some time before she left. she never got to see her son, and she probably blamed the Federation that he was even missing. So there's a lot of this back and forth of who's right, who's wrong. I think in all circumstances, everyone made some kind of a wrong decision, even though they thought it was right at the time. But it just clearly was, starting the series of where it's going to go. Okay. And I liked that it was quick. And I liked that it was long enough that we understood, but it wasn't long enough where it dragged out, right?
And whatever you're here for, Admiral, the answer is no.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're recommissioning Starfleet Academy in San Francisco.
Wow. I thought the Federation put all its chips on the War College.
It's been 100 years. Now that the burn is finally behind us, it's time to rebuild. We want you to be Chancellor. With a full reinstatement of your commission.
Anyone here a captain who resigned in disgrace? Oh, wait, that's me.
So here we see 15 years later, Nala actually resigned due to that situation. And it made me think, I was like, wow, she resigned so quickly. Why was this certain situation is what, the straw that broke the camel's back. As we know, she's part Leatherite. She's 422 years old. She knew what the Federation stood for. She knew what it was all about. And then after, when when the burn happened and she lost her son, she saw, just like everybody else, I feel like even the 24th and 23rd century and 25th century, the Federation and Starfleet are not perfect, okay? They make bad decisions. There's a reason why we have admirals, all right? But to her, this was just too much. So whatever she had gone through prior to Caleb's situation, this is where she was done. And it affected her so much that she just quit. And again, I think it also had to do with her own trauma of losing her son. Maybe she didn't have that great of a relationship with her son. I mean, later on in the episode, Caleb's like, I'm not him, right? But it's one of those things where, she just has to separate her own pain and feels like this is her way of redeeming herself by helping Caleb.
Actual books. Impressive collection.
Thank you.
Nope. Not wearing a uniform.
First year, were you instructed to jettison your gear?
No.
Who do you think you are speaking with, boy? You are in the presence of Laura Thuck, daughter of Ashmeret, from the Klingon house of Dakhatash and the Jem'Hadar lineage of Kabaj. Your only reply is no, cadet master.
She finds Caleb, and that was the only reason why she decided to become a Chancellor, because she wanted to help him. She pulls him out of that prison, and you can see he is just pissed, and he's been on the run for so long. He's been on his own for so long that you can kind of understand why he has such a bad attitude, right? And why he doesn't really trust anybody. But he's like, this might be my chance to find my mom. The other thing is that when they decide to go to the school, the ship is the school. And I thought that was kind of cool. I liked the design. I liked how big it was. As everyone knows, I'm a huge Greek mythology fan, so it being called Athena, I was like the goddess of wisdom, but she was also like the goddess of war as well. So, this school definitely can hold its own, which we see later on. Laura. Okay. Now, Laura has split the fandom, between the negative Nancys and our, positive Pauls. Okay. And the thing is that she is the daughter of a Jem'Hadar and a Klingon. And it's like Alex Kurtzman knew, or whoever had written this episode knew, people were going to question. And the first thing she does is name off her house of her father, who's a Jem'Hadar, and her mother, who is a Klingon. And of course, everyone's all like, Jem'Hadars are not supposed to procreate. They were created genetically. Well, guess what? Just like Robert Picardo had said in an interview recently, it's 800 plus 900 years later. They could genetically modify the Jem'Hadar. They can definitely figure something out where they are able to reproduce later on. Okay. And that's how they got a woman Jem'Hadar, because she's half Klingon. Okay. So anyone who's trying to make this into more than it is, just stop. Okay. It is such a stupid nitpick that it's like, this is going a little too far. Okay. But it's like they, absolutely knew that the fans were going to complain. And so that is what we got, is her explaining where her lineage is. And her attitude explains a lot. Now, I did see some negative responses about how she's screaming at him like he's in the military, right? A drill sergeant. But that's in her blood. She's a Jem'Hadar and a Klingon, okay? I would feel it being a little weird if it was coming from Holly Hunter's character or even one of the other Starfleet officers, but not from Laura, okay? I loved her from the moment I saw her all the way up until the very end of the episode. She is one of my favorite characters. I can't wait to see more. And I think Gina, who is portraying the character, is doing a fabulous job. Again, it's the first episode, guys. Let's not nitpick something so small that could be easily explained later on and can be easily explained to the point that a line can be thrown out there and it will be fine. It was just like when Terry Metalis knew that, why does Jack have an accent? And he threw in a stupid little line of like, he went to school in London and never shook it. Okay, that's it. That's all we needed to know. Okay. And then made the joke that maybe it's in his DNA. Wink, wink. Okay. Same thing. Who cares? It's so small. Just let it happen. All right. Again, 900 years in the future. A lot could happen then.
Gonna be a captain.
You ever mad enough to be first at anything?
I'm about to be the first person in Starfleet to make a Kionian cry.
Do it then.
Do not.
Why am I receiving reports that everyone's catecholamine levels are spiking? You're all suddenly in a stress hormone bouncy house. Whatever you're doing, stop it. All cadets are requested to report immediately to Sato Atrium for club activities registration. Shoot.
So we get the doctor back, and we had the hilarious moment where he is giving all the kids their vaccines, and you're seeing the different attitudes of each kid. Kayla being an ass, right? And of course, the very nervous girl who swallowed her comm badge. Unsure how that could have happened, but you know what? It could have. Okay. I love how the doctor, he's a little bit more grumpier, obviously. He's been around for 800 plus years, and he has seen a lot. And I'm enjoying the different parts of the characters. Krog, okay, the Klingon, he clearly is more tuned to the sensitivities, like we saw Worf in season 3. I even thought he's kind of like Alexander because he learned more from his mother's side than having to be a warrior. So I'm very excited to see where that leads. As you guys know, I'm not a Klingon fan, so it'll be nice to kind of see a little change when it comes to them. And of course, we also have to have the asshole who thinks he's just the, the hot jock. I'm going to do whatever. I got this. But when shit went down, he worked with everybody. So I could see him being a good captain. All right. I can't remember his name. They didn't really say it very much. I just know that he's a Kionian. Genesis, for example, right off the bat, she is so confident that you're like, I like her. She is someone that I would love for my daughter to look up to. And as we find out later, she is the daughter of an admiral. So she says, since I was 2, I've been preparing this for my whole life. So clearly she also went through some kind of training, even though they were jumping from space station to space station because there was no warp technology at the time. She learned a lot from the Federation and Starfleet. And then we have Sam, who is the first of its kind when it comes to holographic student. And now there's a colony of holograms, or as photonics, as they like to be called. When she talks to the doctor, though, I found it interesting how when she was naming off, like, you're going to be my mentor. And he's like, no. She's naming off the crew of the Voyager, and she was naming off with the Protostar. And he got really like, I don't want to say upset, but it was like a twinge. Like she even said, she's like, oh, your sensitivity levels went up the moment she mentioned Gwen. So it makes me wonder what actually happened to them all those years ago. And, they've shown the wall of everybody that has showcased, greatness in Starfleet. And there are a few people missing on that wall. And so it makes me wonder what had happened. I even wrote out, because I was like, I really want to know who's on that wall. And I know there's, random names on there to try and fill the gap between the 25th and 32nd century. But again, it's interesting to know what exactly the doctor went through and to seeing these kids grow in their adventure, in their own journey. I think Sam is kind of the Data of this series, trying to learn to be able to live among organics, as the doctor likes to call them, and just trying to understand oneself, which is exactly what we saw Data be more human-like, right? So many people, so when the poster for Starfleet Academy came out, everyone made the joke of, oh, it's a 90210, okay? And it's because the poster looks like a 90210 poster. So it's a joke. Ha ha, funny, whatever. People are now using it as a negative thing. Oh, it's a Star Trek 90210. I don't want to see it. Now, when I say it's a 90210, I'm not putting it out as a negative connotation, okay? I'm actually putting it out as young adults trying to figure out their life. If anyone remembers how 90210 was, it was about young adults going through shit, unplanned pregnancies and abortions and violations and all this stuff that was going on. And yes, it was a primetime soap opera, so certain things happen that you're like, okay, that I don't think Starfleet Academy is going to go towards, but it still has that line of a teenager into a young adult and their journey through it. We've seen that through so many different shows. Buffy, for example, she had a journey. She was the chosen one. She had an adult to guide her, which was Giles. She had all these different people. And as you go through the 8 years of what we saw with Buffy, we saw a massive amount of growth with these characters, which is not a negative thing, okay? This show is going to showcase that same journey, but in Star Trek. That is not a negative problem. So when people are all like, oh, it's 90210, I'm taking that as okay, so we're going to see young adults go through a journey. We're going to see young adults deal with certain situations. Everyone is different. They are showing representation of all kinds, and that's okay, right? So when you hear I say Star Trek 90210, it is not a negative response. It's actually a positive one. And yes, there's going to be certain things that are going to be similar to 90210, and there's going to be definite things that are not going to be similar. All right. So again, certain fans are just trying to find something negative about the show without even watching it yet. And there may be little nitpicks. Fine. Everyone has them. But don't diss something to the point that you clearly don't understand where they're going with. Now, granted, I've only seen the first 2 episodes. I don't have screeners. I haven't seen the rest later. But from those who have, I've heard nothing but positive things. So I'm excited about it. But again, this is going to be a journey for each of these characters, and I'm excited to see where that leads them.
Emergency evasive.
Multiple systems overload, Captain. Primary power at 86%.
All remaining power to forward shields. Open a channel to Starfleet Command. This is Captain Othman of the USS Athena. Calling Starfleet Command. Repeat.
10%.
USS Athena under attack by the Venari Ra.
So I really like this action pack here. So of course, the school is under attack. It's because of News Braca. It's because he hijacked Caleb's message to his mom, which was very, very sad. And I was kind of upset that he got in trouble for that because all he's trying to do is find his mom. But unfortunately, it had a negative consequence. Now, the thing is, though, is that this certain part, and I know people have been having the same thing as I have, but I heard Elastigirl in this scene.
India Golf 909 transmitting in the blind guard. Disengage. Repeat. Disengage.
That aside, Holly Hunter is kicking ass. I think she's doing a fabulous job. I think she's really hitting all the marks as part Lanthanite. She's giving me Pelia vibes. She's giving me Beverly Crusher vibes, as we saw that she did the Crusher maneuver on the captain's chair. And Paul Giamatti is absolutely delicious as this villain. He is holding no stops to this character. And I am enjoying that chemistry. And what I'm also enjoying with this show is that these are big name actors, right? Holly Hunter and Paul Giamatti, they're up there. And every single person, especially the new actors, the cadets, they are holding their own with these top-notch actors. And so it is a nice blend to have this flow of characters. They all work together very nicely. The chemistry is really good. And so I'm enjoying where that leads. And I've also mentioned too that, of course, there's this journey with Nala and Caleb. They have to trust each other at some point. And so one of the things is that we're going to see that trust grow. And I think it's also going to be a negative response once they do find his mother, because then I'm going to feel like the mom might think that she took her son away to replace hers or something. I don't know. I'm not feeling good about it, but I'm excited to see where this relationship goes.
Cadet Master? Cadet Master!
Dying really gets the blood pumping, eh?
Ow.
You don't have to thank me.
Okay, so of course, the attack happens, they're trying to strategize, and all of these cadets have to work together. And of course, they're all doing a bang-up job, listening to each other, helping each other out, even the asshole and Caleb. Sorry, I can't remember his name, the Kyonian. And he has really good chemistry with Genesis. He has really good chemistry with everybody else. Even though he hates Caleb, he still worked with him. All right. So I like that about that character. Yeah, he may have looked like the jock in the beginning, but he knew when to put all that aside and figure things out. And of course, in this moment with Laura being injured, they all had to try to figure out how to take care of her and how to, help stop New Spraka. And I just really enjoyed this whole, scene of all this coming down. Now, I picked this scene because, Krog is supposed to be going into the medical field. And even Nala had said, do no harm is not really something that you learn from the Klingons. And he's really trying to, I think, change, because he said he was yearning for a better life or something like that. And I think him and Laura are going to build a relationship of some sort. She might help him understand more about his Klingon self. And I think he might help her tone down the aggressiveness just a little bit. So I'm pretty excited about that. But he didn't kill his instructor on day one, like he was, kept telling himself, please don't kill your instructor on day one. And again, they all work together, and I really enjoyed that chemistry. So here's the ending. They defeated Noose, at least for now, and defeated his entire crew because he was off by himself. I really enjoyed this montage with the music and them landing on Earth. My only little nitpick, I think, would be when Sam says we're home. It isn't her home. So maybe I'm looking at it differently. Maybe she's talking about somewhere where everyone belongs, like they're home together. Again, negative Nancy's out there who is complaining about that race with the half black, half white. I've actually never seen the episode, which is weird because I've seen a lot of TOS, but never gotten to that point for some reason. I do know that at the end they destroyed each other, so there was only those two guys left. Who cares that race survived, okay? They are not the Husnak that Kevin killed, all right? It is kind of silly to think that there was no other people somewhere else, a colony anywhere else in the universe, them saying that those were the only two and they're completely destroyed. Who knows what the two guys did? There could have been a half-breed. I have no idea. But to complain about that one little moment, again, 900 years, a lot can happen. Let's just try and stop with the negativeness and talk about the positivity that is Star Trek, because that whole montage was showing all different races coming together, stopping this one villain, okay, for a moment. And that was a really good way to start them in Academy, okay? But again, it's a very silly thing to complain about, and everyone has a right to their opinion. But when you're nitpicking that hard, we kind of tone that out a little bit. So Caleb decides to stay. He's working with Nala. He finds out about Nala's history with, losing her son, and he is going to try and work with her in order to find his mom. But I think this was a really, really good, solid series premiere. It really hit all the notes. It was long enough to get us, the idea of where this might be headed, but it wasn't too long enough where we just kind of zoned out a little bit. But yeah, I think it was solid. I really enjoyed it. If I had to do a 1 out of 5, I would probably give it a 4 out of 5. And over on my Patreon page, I had my tricorder rating, which was 5 total votes. 60% gave it 5 cadets, 20% gave it 4 32nd century ships, 0% for 3 first officers, and 20% for 1 to 2 pirates. And as you know, I give it 4 32nd century ships. And I think, again, it hit the mark in a lot of places. There was a lot of positivity to it, trying to see them rebuild after the burn. And this is what I think Star Trek is about, is how they're trying to come together, work together, have that hope and compassion that, that Nala remembers prior to the burn, right? So this is such a good coming of age series and also a rebuild series as well. But again, I know everyone has their, opinions about things, nitpicks here and there, but the negativity has been a lot, and a lot of negativity, especially comments that I've been receiving, have been mostly of Kurtzman era has ruined Star Trek. I will never watch it. Well, if you haven't seen it, you really have no say. You can't just assume just because of a poster or because of a clip that how this series is going to go, because there was way more to it than just the clips and the posters that we saw prior to the series premiering. So please give it a chance. If you still don't like it, at least you tried. Kudos. Okay. But again, guys, thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys listening to my review, and hope you enjoy my next review, which was the episode 2, which is beta test. And as always, live long and prosper.
Crusher out.